Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Y'all, happy Wednesday. I am so sorry, you guys, about that technical glitch. Y'all, it's been literally a month of Sundays and then some since I have gone live. I've done a lot of content. I have done a lot of premieres, but I have not done an actual live stream since June the 6th was the last live stream that I did. So y'all already know I was already struggle streaming and didn't know what I was doing. So to go that long and not live stream, listen, something was bound to happen. But guess what? I am back. I am here. I have y'all. When I say I have missed y'all, I really have missed y'all. I have fought the urge to go live several times. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go live. And then I was like, yeah, nah, no, I'm not. And I just decided to bite the bullet tonight and go live. And I promise I am not gonna be before you long. I really am not. Because I honestly, I realized that my voice is way more effective when I'm able to focus and create meaningful, high quality content. And to go live a lot does require a lot of prep work. It requires a lot of time. And what I've noticed is that I'm able to broaden my reach by doing more recorded videos and then dropping them bad boys like at least once a day. And so, but to break up the monotony, because I have been gone away from you for a couple of days, I was like, what the heck? We're gonna go and we're gonna go live tonight. So first, we gotta do this. I have got to say hello to the live chat. So hey to Chow. Chow, I've missed you. I have missed you so much. Hey, Unapologetic One. Hello, Sister Layla. Good to see you. It's just been so good to see so many of you after so long. I need to give you guys an update as to what I've been up to and what's been going on, new developments that are happening with the channel before we get into this content. So the first thing is I was out of town. I was out of pocket pretty much from Wednesday on forward. I didn't get back home until Monday, and it was super late, you guys. Last week, I was in sunny and beautiful Tampa, Florida. Listen, y'all, the more I travel, I ain't gonna lie, everywhere I go, I be like, I could live here. Then I'd be like, well, no. The only place I didn't say that was Detroit. I did not say I could live here when I was up in Detroit earlier this year. But Fort Lauderdale, I could live there. Lynchburg, Virginia, absolutely could live there. Tampa, Florida, y'all. Dallas, Texas, so many places I have visited I could live. And downtown Tampa is just nice. And it made me realize that Atlanta used to be the bee's knees, but Atlanta is slipping. Our mayor, our city council, save a few individuals that I know on the city council that are doing an amazing job. Our city's just trash. Like when you go to downtown Atlanta, it's just a lot of homeless people. It's a lot of graffiti. You got to worry about getting shot right? You definitely got to worry about your car getting broken into. I'm in downtown Tampa, and first of all, Tampa Bay is like right there. It's a port city. So of course Atlanta doesn't have any water. So we can't boast about having a port. But y'all, it was clean. It was nice. It was sunny. It was pretty. It was just the convention area, everything about downtown Tampa. I had no complaints. Great restaurants, wonderful hotels. It was just nice. I don't know what Atlanta's doing, but it needs to do better. And now I see why people are calling it AT hell. It's time for us to do something different. But this is where liberalism gets you. So anyway, I was in Tampa and I was there for the Student Action Summit with Turning Point USA. And you guys, Charlie Kirk is doing, when I say that man is doing the Lord's work in terms of turning the hearts and minds of young people toward conservative values. And believe it or not, he is doing it from a distinctively Christian worldview. To be at the Student Action Summit and just to see all of those young people, I'm talking about ages like 13 to 26, hungry for just the truth. They are disavowing the lies of the left, and they are walking boldly in declaring some self-evident truths, such as there are only two genders, right? And that marriage is honorable. Like, these young people want to get married, they want to have babies, they want to close the border, they want to be able to buy a house. They want just so many things that used to be the norm. Like when I was growing up, it was normal to want to be married, have some kids, buy some property, work a job, and live your life. That is what these young people want. So shout out to Turning Point and Charlie Kirk and the amazing team there. They are putting on some amazing events, and I was just happy to be in the mix. And then I was also there because Blexit, which is a component or a subsidiary of Turning Point USA now, had their liberation event. And y'all, they pulled out the stops on this one. I gotta give it to them. Renata and oh gosh, Pierre and Lala, and just so many of the volunteers with Blexit. They showed out on this one, y'all. There was a drum line and there was spoken word. They had some amazing speakers: John Amachuku, Brandon Tatum, Vince Everett Ellison. I graced the stage and gave an interview to the national director of Blexit, which is Pierre Wilson. Everybody just did an amazing job, and I got to meet so many of you from the channel there, and then some of y'all I didn't get to meet, and I was kind of sad about that. But it's so hard when it's just so many people. You're trying to do your best to talk to everybody, and I just didn't get a chance to do it. So I just wanted to let you know that's what I was up to, and I only managed to drop one video while I was gone, and that was the video on Ricky Smiley. And I decided to do that video because I just could not believe that I was listening to an alleged heterosexual man look into a camera and tell his audience with a straight face that he was afraid. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ricky Smiley tonight. But before we do that, let me tell you what else did I have going on. Oh, 2 projects. One that I kind of just participated in a little bit, but it's still an amazing project nonetheless. And then another one that I have a heavy hand in bringing to market. I don't know if you guys know, but Race War is out. Race War is a docu-series. It is a 4-episode series. And if you have not seen it, you're missing out. You need to run in a different browser window, or when you get some time, go to Rumble and go to Turning Point USA's channel and look for Race War episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, and sit down with your children and watch it. My dear friend and brother in the Lord, Marcus Wada and Pierre. Marcus directed it, Pierre produced it. It is an amazing film And it talks about, obviously, one of my favorite topics, Marxism and communism. But what Race War does is it takes you deep into what's been behind BLM, what has been behind the stoking of the social unrest and the alleged racial tensions between black and white people in this country as of late. And what you're going to find is that there's just been this concerted effort, and there's a narrative that has been germinating and now being disseminated out into the ether to make you think that we might be on the brink of a race war. But the reasons is because it's been orchestrated and it's been carefully crafted for it to happen. So some of the individuals in the film, my client, my homie, Vince Everett Ellison is in it. Um, um, Carol Swain is in it. Stephen Davis is in it. Obviously, Pierre Wilson is in it. Virgil Walker, Daryl Bernard Harrison, all of my friends and fellow Christian brothers and sisters are in this film. And so I want you to go to Rumble, and it is out right now. It's out for free. I want you to go see it. So we got Race War, and then we have MLK Motives Unmasked, which is a film that I've executive produced, coming out in a couple of months. Shout out to Chad O. Jackson, who has been burning the midnight oil and working tirelessly to bring this film to market. You guys, this film has been crowdsourced. It has been funded by you, and we are just trying to finish up the final stages of that film. And we'll also be doing some live events, Lord willing, here in Atlanta, as well as in Dallas, Texas, and wherever else the Lord leads us to show that film. But I will give you guys more information about that when it comes out. But it is an amazing film, and it's going to be painful for a lot of people to watch, and it's going to be painful for a lot of people to take in. But y'all, we have to see it. Do y'all remember Bird Box? Y'all remember the movie Bird Box, where they're like they cracking your eye open because they want you to see? Well, this is going to be the opposite. We need you to see it, and seeing is going to hurt. But in the end, the healing that's going to come from it and the ability to move forward after seeing this film, it's going to completely change and revolutionize your life. So that is coming up. And then the last project, I don't even know. I don't have a release date for this, but I recently worked on a project where I wanted to do a curriculum on Black conservative thought. And this project is really near and dear to me because American history, as it is currently being told and indoctrinated into our children, to tell them if they are of a minority, such as if they're of African descent or Black American, that this is not your country, and that this country hates you, and that you're always going to be a victim, and that you, outside of your labor, your slave labor, you contributed nothing to the flourishing of this nation. It is simply not true. So we take you back pre 1776, and we bring you all the way up to modern times, and we walk you through this beautiful story of triumph and of resilience, and watching the American Negro from slavery on forward function in their freedom. And we tell the stories of Antietam and Gettysburg, and all of the wonderful richness of who we were on the trajectory to be. And then, unfortunately, now where we are now, and how did we get there? How did we end up at the bottom of every socioeconomic category that can be measured? How did that happen? Was it just one reason, or were there a myriad of reasons? Was there a proximate cause? We talk about all of that in this course that I've been working on. So we'll be editing it soon, and it'll be available for not just homeschooling families. Hear me clearly. This curriculum, this course, it is not just for homeschoolers. You can be an adult learner, meaning you may be, I don't know, 40 years out of school and have still never heard or been exposed to the information that I'm going to be sharing in this course. This course is not just for children, it is for everyone. So stay tuned. I'll bring you guys more information about that once it becomes available. And I just kind of wanted to give you guys the scoop on that. Now, to deal with this thumbnail with the Oratchetangs, I'm going to tell you what inspired me to want to talk about this first. We're going to talk about multiple things today. But when I was at the Student Action Summit, I was on Media Row, honestly, minding my business. And y'all turn around and I saw Scott Jennings. Y'all ain't gonna lie. I ain't never had a fangirl moment. But I had a fangirl moment over some Scott Jennings. I saw Scott and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Scott. Now, mind you, when you go to these events, these conferences, y'all, you don't know who you're going to see. It's always somebody there. I mean, you could turn to your right. It could be Byron Donalds. You could turn to your left. It could be Sage Steele. You could turn that way and you might see Don Jr. Like, you don't know who you're going to see. But it was something about seeing Scott that I don't know if it's because he was so close. I don't know what it was, but I started fangirling. So my Henry, my friend, he's like, all right, calm down. I was like, all right, I'm cool. I'm April Chapman. I'm cool. I'm chilling. It's just Scott, right? Yeah, whatever. I'm excited. So I was so close to him that I was like, all right, let me relax. Let me just bring it in. And he had an interview to conduct in the booth that was right in front of me. And after he finishes the interview, he's like just standing there. And so I was like, Scott Jennings. I said, listen, I said, you are my conservative superhero. I said, let me tell you why. I said, listen, first of all, before I tell you how great you are, I said, let me give you a little piece of advice. I said, now you were on CNN. And the only reason why most of us watch CNN is to see you. I said, but I'm going to need you to stop doing so. I said, I'm going to need you to stop letting these Oratchetangs whip up on you and bully you. I looked him dead in his eye. I said, I'm about sick of these chicks. I said, don't let these chicks bully you and talk over you. I said, these women, they act all kinds of crazy. And I introduced him to my term, Oratchetangs, and he laughed. And I encouraged him. I said, listen, the only reason why they say the things that they say and they act the way that they do towards you, I said, because what they want you to do is they want you to minimize yourself. I said, they want you to shirk back. They are attempting to exercise all kinds of shame and insults. And I said, they sound stupid and ignorant as all get out. I didn't say ignorant. I said, they sound ignorant, right? I said, but even though you cannot follow any sort of argumentation that's rooted in any logic or reason with what they say, I said they're doing it on purpose because they don't want you to push back. They want to silence you and they just want you to be quiet and stop talking and advocating for whatever it is that you're talking about or advocating. I said, do not let them do that. I said, now then, if you ever get overwhelmed, I was like, call me. I was like, Pimpin', I got you. I was like, just call me. I was like, see, I know how to handle these types. I said, see, the one with the little Bob, what's her name? Oh gosh, what the little light-skinned name? The little girl whose show got canceled before Joy Reid got canceled. Y'all help me out. Who am I talking about? She has a Bob now. Tiffany Cross. I said, these women are Oratchetangs. I said, now we're not all like this. I said, see, I like you. I'm cool. I said, I'm authentically Black. I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. I said, but these chicks, I said, these women are a variety that I call the Oratchetang. And I defined it for him. And he's looking, y'all know that Scott, when he had that face, he'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's got that look. And I said, an Oratchetang is a female imbecile who cannot manage her misery. I said, so she shows out. And I said, to be fair, this is not a dermal description at all. I said, this has nothing to do with these women's, their ethnicity. I said, because Anna Navarro, she in a Oratchetank too, and she's not Black, right? She's a Latina. And I said, there have been quite a few other Oratchetangs that were less melanated. I said, it's the pathology of their mindset. I said, a lot of these women, because they cannot manage their inner misery, they're bemoaning a lot of their life choices. They have no inner joy. They have no peace. They don't have the light of Christ on the inside of them. I said, they only know how to do one thing, and that's just show out. I said, so they show out. So I said, they're making your life miserable because it's really what's emanating from the inside of them. I said, but do not let them bully you. I said, you have to double down and you lead with the truth. I said, we have truth on our side. And what I think, or what I find so disingenuous, for example, let's take Abby Phillips. When I tell you she disappoints me the most, because Abby is she's super attractive, just as cute as she wants to be. But she about as dumb as a box of rocks. And she's so disingenuous. I wish she would just come out and say, listen, I'm a propagandist, okay? I'm not a journalist. I am not interested in having any sort of balanced discussion on anything. I am here to represent the left and whatever it is that the left advocates. I am not neutral. I wish she would just come out and say that. That is the reason why she disappoints me the most. Who's texting me? Somebody just sent me a text. I'm sorry. I should have put my phone on do not disturb. I can't see that. Oh, y'all, another thing. Let me tell you what happened before I lose my train of thought. I broke my monitor. So normally I have about 3 monitors around here. Okay, now my phone is ringing through the computer. Why is that happening? You know, this iPhone ecosystem, everything's all interconnected. So when one thing happens, it's weird that the tablet didn't do anything. But okay. Anyway, listen, I broke my monitor. So I still have one here, but the one that's normally to my left, I call it my handicap monitor that I rely on the most. It's like way over there. So I can't see nothing that's going on over there. But anyway, I was talking about Abby Phillips. She's the one that disappoints me the most because she's incredibly articulate. I love the cadence of her voice. I love the diction and tone in her voice. I just hate everything that's coming out of her mouth in terms of the substance of what she is saying. Because someone, and I have some clips that we're going to go over. You can be making a credible argument that's rooted in logic and reason and just objective truth. And she will argue the inverse of it, regardless of how stupid she sounds, or regardless of how harmful it is, even to her as a mother. Like, she has a child. She will still double down and advocate for the opposite of logic and reason if it is a position that the left supports. It doesn't have to make sense. And so what I want to do now, I want to look at this first clip. I'm going to show you guys this first clip. And this one is going to be wild. Let's go ahead and let me give you guys some context. This first clip is about this topic on immigration. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm going to be doing a lot of content on immigration because I really do believe that the mainstream media is doing a really good job of trying to change the narrative and to get even Bible-believing Christians to soften their position on immigration, because what they're doing is they're pulling out the baby violin. They're pulling out the baby violin, and they want to emotionally manipulate you and bait you into putting your defenses down, abandoning truth, logic, and reason, and just lean into the feels. They want you to lean into the feels. And I have reason to believe that there are some well-meaning believers that I know, love, and respect that are leaning into the feels too. But let's listen to this clip of Abby Phillips and the big homie, Scott Jennings. And let's listen to this exchange and just see. Y'all just listen and listen for yourself.
I just want to go back to the thing I was most concerned about in reading all of this today, and that's that these little children are found on these farms. I mean, Are we really saying here in the year 2025, well, we have to maintain the status quo of illegal immigration in the United States because we need little children to pick marijuana in California? It's like blowing my mind.
No, Scott, I think you're making a really, frankly, it's a very important point. I mean, the fact that young children, immigrants or not, are working on these farms, whether they're forced to because they have to make money for their families, or maybe they,
for whatever here to do that,
or for whatever reason. I totally agree that is something that we as a country need to address. But I think you have to acknowledge that there has been no effort made by policymakers, Republican or Democrat, to address the driving causes of that, which are the employers willing to employ these children. Who is employing a 16-year-old undocumented immigrant?
Yeah,
and
I agree. I mean, one of the farms that was raided, I read, is even a Gavin Newsom donor. I think the governor of California should ask why you're doing these things. And I don't have a problem going after employers.
By the way,
I really don't.
I know you want to make it about California, but it's not about California.
Well, in this case,
there are
parents who are being kidnapped by this agency whose children are literally dying. And so if we're so concerned about children, maybe we should stop kidnapping people while their children are dying and their sole care.
Okay, before we let Tiffany Cross sound stupid, let me first engage with the exchange that Abby Phillips was having with Scott. He's highlighting the fact that, let me give you guys the backstory. The backstory from this clip is that there was a recent marijuana farm that was raided that had underage children who were also undocumented on this farm. No one seems to be like really concerned about why there are children on this farm. It's a weed farm. Why are they working? They're undocumented. Like, he's trying to draw attention and sound the alarm on how problematic this is. And Abby Phillips, who she tried really hard here to at least concede the point that, yes, underage children and minors shouldn't be working, but perhaps we should focus on the fact that who are these people that are employing them? And I want to be fair in my assessment, because this is not the worst exchange where she's being disingenuous, but it doesn't seem to concern her that, one, that these are minors, that two, that they are undocumented, and three, why are they harvesting marijuana? Right? Like, what? Why are they? I get the argument that marijuana is legal-ish, depending on the state. Fine. But this is a controlled substance, okay? It is a drug that has effects. And for children to be exposed to, like, such a crop should be problematic. But not just that. If they're undocumented, the question is, where are their parents? How did they get here? Should we not be concerned about any of that? Instead, she wants to turn this and make this partisan. And, well, she tried to say that neither the left nor the right has done anything legislation-wise to deal with the fact that employers are hiring illegal labor. And I would agree. That is a problem. However, Democrats are always the one whining and crying. When we say we need to deport these people, their next refrain is, who's gonna pick the crops? You know why they say that? Because I keep telling y'all, Democrats have never changed who they are. They've always been the party of slavery. It doesn't matter if it was African slave labor or immigrant slave labor. They've always been the party of masters looking for slaves. And dare I say it, Democrat voters are slaves looking for masters. Like, because people keep voting these people in. But the concern here, they want to move the goalposts and get you to ignore the fact that there are 300,000 children in this country who just disappeared, like just into the interior of the country. They are unaccounted for. No one knows where they are. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, do not quote me on this, that perhaps about 10,000 of them, I can't remember if it was 1,000 or 10,000 of them, have been found. But out of 300,000 minors, we don't know where these children are. Are we leaving room for the possibility that they are on or in the agricultural industry, that they're in the schmecks work industry being exploited? Democrats are more concerned with, we're not going to have any labor for our blueberries, and we're not going to have any labor to clean our homes and to wash our car and to cut our grass. They neglect the fact that this discussion was about children on a weed farm, and why is no one concerned about that? So that was the first piece of commentary that I wanted to offer on this issue. Now we can get old bobblehead Tiffany Cross. Let's let her talk. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. See, it's so far away, y'all can't even see.
You're doing these things, and I don't have a problem going after employers.
By the way,
I really don't.
I know you want to make it about California, but it's not about California.
Well, in this case,
there are
parents who are being kidnapped by this agency whose children are literally dying, and so we're so.
All right. So the inflammatory statement that Tiffany made is there are parents being kidnapped, not illegal immigrants are being apprehended because they are about to be deported. The language used here is that parents are being kidnapped. Take a note to that. Listen to why she's using that terminology, purposely being overly inflammatory, misrepresenting what is actually happening.
Concerned about children, maybe we should stop kidnapping people.
Right, so notice that, like, Scott stopping her, like, wait, who's dying? She made the statement that parents are being kidnapped because their children are dying, and we're trying to understand, like, what make that make sense. We're not picking up what you're putting down.
Their children are dying and their sole caretakers are being deported by ICE. There are multiple cases where they are kidnapping people out of hospitals.
What does kidnapping mean?
It means a government agency has been given license to disappear people.
Notice how she redefined kidnapping. I've never heard this definition of, he's like, what is kidnapping? And she says kidnapping in this definition, in this context, I guess, is the government removing people. Wait, what did she say? It was weird how she worded that.
Has been given license to disappear people.
Okay, she says the government has been given license to disappear people. Like, these liberals, they talk so weird. I'm like, okay, to disappear people, I mean, are they magicians? No, the American people elected a president to do a job. And that job is to seal the border, close it up. And not only that, to deal with the influx of illegal immigrants that were told to come to this country and allowed to come in. Isn't it funny, you guys, how the left is always crying about these people need due process? Where was the due process on the front end? Like, they just came in because Kamala told them to come. Like, our national security was breached and our sovereignty was abandoned so that these people could just come indiscriminately. There was no due process. They just came on in. Well, now that they're here, the American people have spoken, and we like, yeah, y'all, we love you. This is not a matter of love, care, or concern. This is a matter of, we don't have the resources to take care of you. And two, we don't even know who the heck all of y'all are. And since the left weren't interested in doing that on the front end, we're really not interested in doing that on the back end. So you gotta go. But she here redefines kidnapping to say where the government has the authority to just disappear people. And I'm like, really? Tiffany, is that what it is? Or is there purpose behind the apprehension? Listen to what she's about to say before I make this argument. She's about to flesh it out some more. Listen to this.
That is what
does that
means.
mean? So you mean an ICE agent takes an illegal immigrant into custody?
We got to squeeze in a quick
but you don't
break.
know if they're an illegal immigrant. That is my point. I don't use that term. You don't know.
She don't want to use that term. Mind you, English has never had a problem defining terms. Illegal meaning unlawful, right? It is against the law, right? If the law says A and you do B, it makes it illegal. Immigrant, a person of unknown origin that is now in a new place that is not their country of origin. They are unauthorized to be here. Why can't we call these people illegal immigrants? It's because the left likes to weaponize language. They like to craft a shareable narrative to get you to ignore what's really happening and internalize whatever it is, this other alternate narrative that they're trying to paint for you. I don't use that term. Why not? Is that not what it is? If you are in this country unlawfully, it's illegal. And if you're not a citizen, you're an immigrant. There's a difference between immigrant and illegal immigrant. Right? Like that descriptor going before immigrant matters, but they don't want to use that terminology. They don't want to use that terminology.
What their status is. Okay. And so if you can just come and snatch somebody off the street and say you don't get due process, and that means I'm not a citizen. It is.
Do you see the lack in logic? She leaped from, if this person that's an illegal immigrant doesn't get due process, then that must mean I'm not a citizen. What? Huh? How is it that an illegal immigrant failing to get due process somehow now makes me not a citizen? One has nothing to do with the other. This is the level of argumentation that I was trying to tell Scott. I said, Scott, I'm telling you, these chicks don't make no sense. They are illogical. They are incredibly emotional, and they think because they can shout you down and weaponize their ethnicity against you, they believe that that means that they've won. I said, do not give ground to these women. You lead with truth. You know what Scott told me? He was like, you know what? Thank you for that. And I was like, I just want to encourage you. I said, because there are sometimes, and not necessarily in this clip, but I have seen these women are insufferable. They'll all gang up on him all at one time. And this is not an indictment necessarily against Scott personally. The next statement that I'm going to make, it is a broad, sweeping one, and I hope that you hear me clearly, because I'm not going to apologize for saying it. We need to get back to a time in this country when women understood their rightful role in the culture and how we speak, particularly in a professional setting like this, with not just individuals of the opposite sex, but in general. These women just are disrespectful. They are downright disrespectful, and they get on my nerves. And I ain't told, I said, listen, I be wanting to, okay, listen. Okay, I can be poised and southernized. I'm still from the Bronx. Like, I be wanting to slap abroad. I do. There's times I just, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm not advocating for violence. I'm just saying that's my knee-jerk stimulus. That's my response oftentimes, and I have to temper and control myself. That's what I be wanting to do to them. Because a lot of times they are demeaning, they are dismissive, and they are disrespectful. They can dish it, but they cannot take it. And the moment you say something that they don't like, instead of them acknowledging like, okay, you got one up on me, you know what they do? They pull the race card, and then they pull the gender card. It's because I'm black and it's a woman. No, it's because you stupid. That's often the times why the exchange between these two parties is the way that they don't really, they want Scott to not vigorously defend his position, and they want Scott to put on kid gloves to handle them, but they don't treat him that way. I've seen them be incredibly disrespectful, and root. And they'll definitely do it to a black man, but they'll do it to this white man. And if he remotely says something to match their energy back, then that makes him racist. And I'm like, well, why is the inverse not true? If you dished it, why can't you take it? This is another reason why DEI has no place in the workforce. Because if you want to be respected based on your merit and your ability to either defend your position or for your qualifications, when discussions get heated like this, the last thing you should be able to do is to weaponize your ethnicity and your gender. You should be able to put on those boxing gloves and take it. You are you an equal or no? But because you're DEI, right? We got to rub your back and allow you to spew your venom, but you can't receive it. No, that's not how this is going to work. You want to be on here with the big dogs, and you need to be able to argue and defend your position. And then you need to give up the ground when you've lost the argument, which is most often than not. Most of the time, these chicks lose the argument. They make absolutely no sense. But I've noticed time and time again, they will try to shut the argument down by weaponizing race and gender and accuse the other side of being racist when half the time you're like, how did we get here? How did we get here? And then what happens? You got to pull the baby violin out. I remember that time Ashley Allison got upset on the show. Her and Scott were having an exchange. And because she started losing the argument, she started crying and whining to me, I have to work twice as hard. And I got to do this and I got to do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, you've had to do all of that and you're still not paid what you're worth. And it's his fault. I'm like, this sounds like a negotiation deficiency on your part, not his. Right? And it bothered me that Scott actually fell for the crocodile tears and gave this long little soliloquy about, I respect you, Allison, and you're one of my best friends. I was like, no. We're not doing that. No. She spewed all that venom out. You should have just sat there and been like, yeah, you probably should do better than next time you negotiate, because there's no way you're going to have equal credentials. You're going to have equal or better credentials than everybody else, and you're still the lowest man on the totem pole in terms of how you're compensated. It sounds like you don't know your worth. But instead of you actively advocating for yourself and either shopping your talent elsewhere, you took the low pay because you really know you ain't worth what you think you should be paid. That's the conclusion that I come to, because there's no way I'm going to be able to put my credentials up to someone and I can say, I've got this better than them, I've done that better than them, and I've got tenure, I've got this, I've got that, and you're not going to pay me what I'm worth? Oh no. You better find another boo-boo to fool, because I'm not the one. But they didn't do that. So that's just one example of a time I gave Scott his props because I love the work that he's doing here on this network. He needs to do more of it, but do not give ground to these Oratchetangs. They can't manage their misery. So all they know how to do is to dig into their little toolbox of foolery and weaponize all kinds of intersectionality weapons, and they throw them in hopes that one of them gonna stick. If it's not the gender one, it's the ethnicity one or the sexuality one. It's going to be one of the three in that trifecta, or the class one. I was poor and my mama didn't breastfeed me when I was a baby. It's going to be something. It's going to be something. But let's let Ms. Cross finish.
The disgusting thing that we're watching, and anybody who defends it is disgusting and despicable and deplorable.
So basically, Scott is he is despicable and it's indefensible, and he's deplorable because he wants to advocate for a closed border. Whatever. Keep the party going. That was the first clip that I wanted to show you guys. Let me show you guys this other clip. All right, here we go.
And a new Gallup poll found 8 in 10 Americans believe immigration is a good thing. That's the most support that there's been in 25 years. Now, just last summer, That same Gallup poll found 55% of Americans wanted to decrease the number of immigrants coming into the country. Now, today, that number is 30%. And now, even more Americans support giving immigrants in the country illegally a pathway to citizenship compared to last June. Now, this is kind of a surprising result, because I think, Jillian, Trump is correct that he ran on immigration. He probably won on immigration. Americans were fed up with what seemed to be an incompetence on the part of the Biden administration in terms of dealing with the border. But the polling is going in the...
Did she just say Biden, we were dealing with incompetence when it came to Biden's dealing with the border? No, ma'am. He was not incompetent. He was negligent. He opened the border and let these people come. You know what? Okay, we're going to say Biden. But because we also know that Biden wasn't in his right mind, we don't know. We know that the Democrats and whoever was pulling the puppet strings of Joe Biden, be it Obama and his chief of staff, Jill, the whole Democrat establishment, that's not what it was. It was negligence, not incompetence. It wasn't that they were securing the border and then by just osmosis somehow 20 million people got in here. It was purposeful. It was done on purpose. This is why I say she is a propagandist and not a journalist, because I noticed the language and the word choice that she uses when she has to talk about the right versus the language and the word choice that she uses when she talks about the left. The left is always in favorable terms. When she's talking about the right, it's always in the most unsavory way possible. She described what Joe Biden did with this border as incompetence versus negligence and a purposeful action. That's what it was. Let's not miss that.
Wrong direction. Americans, his approval rating on immigration is not good, and Americans say immigration is good. They want more of it. They want to give illegal immigrants legal status.
No. See, she's messing up. First of all, Trump's polling numbers on immigration are just fine. What she is conflating is the fact that we here on the right, we don't have a problem with immigration proper. We love immigrants. Most of us come from a lineage that includes some form of immigration. What we have a problem with is illegal immigration. You just being able to waltz on in whenever you want to go to the sanctuary city of your choice, using resources that we're not going to call it federal funding. It is my money, right? Our taxpayer money is being used to house, to feed, to ensure and provide medical coverage for these people. That has been a problem. So when she makes this assertion that, well, you know, Trump's numbers on immigration are bad. No, they're not. They're not. The truth of the matter is, many of us have long advocated and said, you know, there has to be some sort of legal pathway to citizenship, right? Something that's, you know, doesn't take 20 years, but we need to put some sort of process in place. But she's not being honest with the fact that, how did we get here? The reason why these extreme measures are being taken is because extreme measures were employed to get these people here in the first place. Border was wide open. The wall that was built was halted, and in fact, parts of it were torn down. So now we have to go back and we've got to employ very extreme measures to secure the border and then to get the people here out. They cannot just stay. I've never heard not one Democrat present a policy to say, well, now that they're here, this is basically what we're going to require. The American taxpayer cannot take care of them. So we got to figure something out. They've provided no solutions. They've provided no solutions. And in fact, They have taken resources from American citizens and given it to the illegal because the illegals they're useful to them. I told y'all this is their new slave class. Their masters looking for slaves. They need to keep another class of people perpetually dependent. And not only that, they know that for every million illegal alien that comes into this country, that is another congressional seat. This is why they keep ushering and want all of these illegals to go to sanctuary cities. They put them in the sanctuary cities because they're trying to prepare for the census. Once the census comes up, the way, unfortunately, the way our Constitution reads is that it counts bodies, persons, not citizens. So this is why you're going to constantly see the left caping for illegal immigrants, not because they're so benevolent and they just want to be so, we're the party of humanitarian aid. No. Each of those people represent power and control, no different than it did in the times of slavery. They don't care who they oppress and subjugate. They're like, listen, if we can create another dependent class to ensure that we get more congressional seats, if there are 20 million people in this country, that's 20 additional congressional seats. This has nothing to do. They don't love these people. They don't care about these people. This is about power and control. I just wanted to highlight that because there's a lot of conflation of terms. Proper definitions aren't being given, and a lot of assertions are being made that are simply not true here. Like this U.S. poll, views of immigration have changed. They sure have. Many of us are saying we don't have a problem with immigration. It's illegal immigration that's the issue. But they'll skew the headline in order to skew the perception of the American people to make you think that you're unloving and you're being uncharitable and that you're crazy if you actually want these people to go back where they came from. Let's let her continue.
Why would that be?
Well, the key word, though, is a legal pathway to citizenship. I believe that people don't want to see illegal immigration because it doesn't behoove anyone, including the people that come in illegally. They have no upward mobility, they have no job protections, they're not able to start businesses, and the list goes on and on. It creates resentment amongst citizens that are here, obviously born here, and people that did it legally. It doesn't behoove anyone. But I absolutely believe that both parties should stop the finger pointing and work towards radical immigration reform. I think most people feel that way.
They're not going to do it, Jillian. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They are going to continue to do it this way because this is the one issue. If they're like, we can create chaos and confusion and delay. I know I sound like Thomas the Train. They're going to do that. Both parties do. Someone needs to present meaningful legislation. But since they didn't do that, Donald Trump had to do what he had to do as the commander-in-chief and start playing 5D chess with these people. And all they've been doing is holding or trying to block him by using the judicial system. And so he's outsmarting them by saying, listen, okay, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. You can self-deport. Right? You can self-deport. We'll incentivize you on the front end and when you get to where you're going to self-deport. Or you can go to alligator Alcatraz. Your choice. The self-deportation is a brilliant strategy because it is going to be virtually impossible. With all of the ways that the left are fighting against this, the self-deportation is a very genius way to get a huge conglomerate of people out of the country all at one time. It was genius to me. Was it a piece or a form? Now, I do believe that alligator Alcatraz is a form of propaganda. Yeah, if you could scare people and be like, if we catch you, you're going to end up there. You may not want that, Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that people should be treated inhumanely. These are image bearers. worthy of value, dignity, and respect. But we also need to acknowledge that two things can be true at the same time. If you came here illegally, we cannot ignore that. It hurts us, but we can't ignore it. We cannot ignore it. And this is why women do not need to be in power in certain circumstances, because a female is going to view this issue very emotionally, and logic and reason are going to go out the window. This requires you to put up walls. You just got to be a man with it and just put up the walls and make the hard, tough decisions. Most women in a leadership position that will require this decision to be made would not be able to make it, because it may not happen on day 1. It may not happen on day 5, but by day 365, most women are going to wear down. All it takes is for them to see one family and be like, well, I mean, maybe they can stay. And then next thing you know, it's like, we've made no progress here, lady. Like, let the men handle this. Sometimes you need a man to make hard decisions. You just do. We're almost done here.
I agree. I mean, but that's, and I just want to clarify one thing. The poll is saying for illegal people who are here illegally right now, they want to pass the citizenship for them.
The problem is they're calling it radical immigration reform is far too broad, because what I see on TV look pretty damn radical, right? Like, what I think people are seeing is an application of radical reform that is a little bit terrifying on one level. I think the other part of it is when you're talking about these deportations around.
Actually, you know what was terrifying? What was terrifying to learn how Laken Riley lost her life. That was terrifying for me. That happened in my state. That happened at UGA, a place that I was like, okay, this is relatively safe. Like, could something like that actually happen there? Well, it happened. That was terrifying. It was terrifying to hear about Larisha, what was her last name? The young woman in South Carolina who was brutally murdered by 6 illegal immigrants. That was terrifying. A single mother who just trying to work and live her life. That was terrifying. But see, they don't want to talk about that. What they want to do is talk about how it's terrifying for ICE to show up to a weed farm and basically in a paddy wagon round up everybody there and figure out the details later. Yeah, I'm sure that was terrifying for them. I'm sure it was. But are we going to talk about the proximate cause of how we got here? Or are we going to be like, somebody has to do something about it? And if this is just too emotional for you, you just need to close your eyes and turn your head. Just don't look. I don't know what else to say at this point. And I know it sounds like I am just being very, very harsh and black and white and matter of fact about this. I am not saying that there are not exceptions to this, that there are some situations that just don't fit in the box. But the Democrats should have thought about that before they opened up the border and invited everyone and they mama them to come. They should have thought about that. Now, these are just the repercussions that we have to deal with. And we need a leader in charge who is like, listen, this hurts me more than it hurts you. It's just like you're a parent, you got to discipline. You're like, this hurts me more than it hurts you, but it is necessary for your character development, for your protection and your growth. Same thing with this country. They have to go back. They have to go back. And maybe this will hurt the left enough to where they'll actually sit down and come to the table and work on legitimate immigration reform. But I don't believe it will, because it's not about the people. They're not advocating for these people because they care about them. Because I've never seen this kind of energy. I have never seen this kind of energy from the left advocating for, I don't know, poor black kids in failing schools. Never seen them advocate for school choice this aggressively. If this was really about them caring about lives, I've never seen them advocate this aggressively for the black babies in the womb that are being slaughtered every single day. at the hands of Planned Parenthood. I've never seen this kind of advocacy. I don't see this advocacy every weekend and week out when in Chicago. All of the murders that are happening there because people they're just killing each other for no other reason than they just want to they on some YN stuff, right? Where is the energy for all of these people on the left who claim to care about people? How many of them have opened up their own home and said, Julio, you can sleep on my couch? I've not seen that. Where is that happening in mass? It's not. What about, the left, the party of the elites? They've got rental property. How many of them have allowed a family of illegal immigrants to just squat in their home rent-free because this is about sheltering you and protecting you from Big Back Trump? Where's that happening? It's not happening because they're full of it. They are full of it, and I'm going to continue to cover this to do two things. I wanted to highlight, oh gosh, I'm stuck. Y'all, my bracelet's stuck. I got on some distressed jeans. Y'all look at this. I wanted to cover this because I wanted to highlight the disingenuous nature of these CNN panelists, particularly the Black ones, that their arguments are never rooted in truth or logic or reason, and how they're constantly shape-shifting a narrative that redefines terms and seems to advocate for these people without looking at or listening to the argument that's being presented and the impartial way that Abby Phillips engages with her opponents. She's not impartial at all. She's incredibly biased, and oftentimes she's so biased to where the things that she ends up advocating for actually make her look like a horrible human being, but she doesn't see it because she's too blinded by her progressivism. That's one reason why I wanted to highlight this and to show you that the Oratchetang energy, it's insufferable. And how that one little quick conversation that I had with Scott Jennings last week, how I encouraged him to continue to speak the truth and to not bow the knee to the Oratchetang. Like, don't let the Oratchery get you unsettled, because that's the goal. They are masters at this, but you cannot let them win. You lead with the truth, you argue well, and if their feelings get hurt, oh well. But don't let them weaponize ethnicity or gender or their sexuality against you, because those are their main weapons of choice. But anyway, the other thing, let's see what's on my list of things that I want to cover. We've been on here an hour and 5 minutes. We're about to wrap it up soon. I wanted to recap the conversation that I had last week on Ricky Smiley. And the reason why I wanted to recap that conversation, it's not that I didn't get out everything that I wanted to say, but I thought about something, and there's this other point that I wanted to bring up that I want to share with you guys, and I wanted to see if you guys agree with me. So when I look back at the Instagram Live from the other day, where Ricky Smiley was, I mean, y'all, that whole grown man looked in the camera and he said he was scared. He said he was scared and he was gravely concerned about the possibility of him being deported. And he encouraged his audience to possibly seek dual citizenship in some other country. He didn't get specific, nor did he say that that was his intention either. He never said that he intended to escape the coming wrath by applying for citizenship somewhere else. He didn't say where he had planned to go. But he did do a lot of fear mongering, and then he encouraged people to listen to Joy Reid as if she is the sage of wisdom on this topic. And after I covered him, I did some more thinking, and I said, you know what? I said, I've been very critical, as you guys know, if you watch my show, on how the Black community has ended up where we are with, almost 80% out of wedlock, single parent home, no nuclear family, our abortion rates super high, just our lack of, we don't have a solid nucleus or family structure anymore. There's so many issues that are plaguing the Black community. And I thought about it as I listened to Ricky Smiley again. And then I looked at the state of Black men in this country. It hit me, y'all, that Jim Crow and the KKK and all of the things that were happening to Black people during that time period, a lot of those things, and this is my opinion, so if you disagree, you're free to disagree. A lot of those things would not have happened or would have been able to take a foothold if we had had less men like Ricky Smiley. That male cowardice that we saw in that video, that whole chestless man archetype, is how Jim Crow was able to take a foothold in states that either had 3 times more Black men than white men or 2 times more Black men than white men. What do I mean? South Carolina, post the Civil War, had 3 times more Black men than white men because they all died in the war. Like, it was a civil war. They died, right? Same for Alabama. Same for Mississippi. After the Civil War, with the work that the Freedmen's Bureau did to help acclimate these newly freed slaves to function in their freedom, we know that there were lots of Black Americans, freed men, who took places in politics. They became secretaries of state. They became senators, U.S. senators, not state senators. They were the registrars. If we had less men like Ricky Smiley, there is no way, if we outnumbered white men 2-1, 3-1, how is it that Jim Crow was able to take a foothold in the South? Well, the reason I'm arguing is because we had too many men like Ricky Smiley. We didn't have enough, Booker T. Washingtons, and we didn't have enough Frederick Douglasses. We didn't have men of valor who were willing to take the words of Abraham Lincoln to heart, which is, teach your so-called former masters, you teach them that you are free. If they don't believe you, take up the sword and bayonet. How is it in 2025 a whole grown man gonna sit on the Instagram Live and tell thousands of people that he is afraid of the possibility of being deported? Mind you, that is not happening anywhere. Black people are not being rounded up in mass. But you fixed your mouth to incite fear in other image bearers who share your ethnic image. And you stood there and you whined like I don't use profane language, so like a Mitch. That's what you did. And you sat there and you talked about you being afraid. First of all, what are you afraid of? Now, the question is, was he serious, or was this a part of the act? Was this a part of the propaganda machine to make other Black people cower in fear and listen to him and be afraid as well? Or is he really this emasculated and this weak, and he was speaking from the heart? Now, I don't know which one it is, but I mean, what else are we supposed to think? And I know this is sharp criticism, but if you think about it, if we outnumbered, and hear me clearly, let me give some disclaimers before people think that I am advocating for some sort of widespread violence. That is not it at all. But if after the Civil War, and I'm an emancipated freedman, I am free, not because Abraham Lincoln gave me my freedom, but because God made me free. Why is it that we didn't have more of us functioning in our freedom, using the Second Amendment, outnumbering our oppressors, and say, oh, if you think you're about to subjugate us again, you got another thing coming. It is more of us than it is of you. What make it do what it do. But instead, we allowed ourselves to be intimidated with, when we had more numbers, how did we allow ourselves to be intimidated? You know how we allowed it? Because that same weak-minded, emasculated persona that Ricky Smiley and Roland Martin and Van Jones walk around with, whining and crying all the time, that's how the Black community was made vulnerable. We were left vulnerable by men like that. And look at the generations of subjugation that were allowed to take a foothold when we outnumbered our oppressor. There is no way, and I know I'm saying this many generations removed, having not been alive during that time, there is no way the men in my circle, my friends, my brothers in the Lord, the ones that are alive today that I know would have ever allowed that to happen. Absolutely not. Somebody they would have met their maker that day. But because we've now got several generations of these emasculated men, we couldn't even say it was matriarchal squalor back then, because it didn't exist. We can't say that. Now, we can say that's what it is now. We can say 3 generations of bastards raising bastards have cultivated a generation of weak men. But it's something other than that. Where did that come from? And I know some might say, well, the psychological, ramifications and effects of slavery. Okay, I hear that argument. But why is it that Harriet Tubman was a woman who exhibited so much more bravery, and in the face of actual harm and danger, took a risk every time she made a trip back down to the South to go free some more slaves by herself? Granted, yes, she worked. I'm stuck again. She worked with a network of whites and other freedmen on the stops, the strategic places throughout, on the way up to Canada. But how is it Harriet serves as a spy for the Union Army? How is it that she made that treacherous trip down to the South to free other slaves, and she was a woman? I'm doing 2 things. I am absolutely extolling the bravery and the sheer fortitude of Harriet Tubman, but I'm also indicting and asking, where were the men? Where were they in mass? We know the story of Frederick Douglass, who fought his master to get his freedom. We know about Nat Turner. But there aren't this plethora of slave revolts and rebellions recorded in history. They're just not. We have more examples of men turning in other men when one would try to function in their freedom. We have examples of other slaves turning them in to the master, saying, Jethro gonna try to run away. Cowardice. Or we have stories of, well, if I try to run away, it might be hard out there. cowardice. What's the difference between him and Ricky Smiley? It is no difference. A weak, melanated-minded, jelly-bagged soy boy Negro stinks in my nostrils. Have no respect for him. None. And the fact that he got on his platform and told other Black people not to be resilient, to be strong, and to recognize that you're an American. The blood of Union soldiers, Black ones, were spilled on this soil for your freedom. They fought for it, so it is yours. Donald Trump, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, nothing threatens that. But instead, he lied. He lied and he pushed propaganda, talking about they coming for us next, sounding just weak and sad. And he wasn't even embarrassed about his commentary, because if he was embarrassed, he'd pull the video down, and it's still up. It's still up. And then gonna tell you, you know, y'all need to go and watch Joy Reid. You know, listen to her show. Joy Reid don't even have a show. So here's the question that needs to be asked now. Was he paid to say this? That's a question. Was he paid to say that? Or is he really just that stupid and weak and said it on his own recognizance and he didn't need to be coerced to do it? Both are bad, but I have questions. I want to know which one is it? Why is this important? This is important because, like, I'm raising 2 boys. My husband and I have 4 children. 2 are males. I cannot, in good conscience, leave this world knowing that my boys are weak and that they're unable to defend their families, defend this country with their lives and their sacred honor, and more importantly, stand for truth and righteousness versus lay down and demonstrate cowardice. That is not a godly trait. To be a coward, like if scripture admonishes us to act like men, to stand strong, and you do the opposite, and can I really believe that you trust God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and you're weak and cowardly? I get having the moments of weakness, but that's when, through the power of the Spirit, you recognize that all that you are and all that you ever will be has nothing to do with you as the individual, but everything to do with the God of the Bible, who, when you are weak, he is strong. So I get it. You're like, I'm not big. I'm not, I don't have a lot of muscles. I really can't, I can't slay a lion. That's not the expectation. The expectation is for you to demonstrate fortitude, resilience, to be mentally sharp and to be level-headed and to think clearly and soberly about the times that we are in, and to not be a punk. I know that ain't a biblical term, but don't be a punk. Women are struggling. We got our own struggles in terms of how we deal with and engage with men. We do. But a lot of the lack of respect that a lot of y'all are experiencing is because you're just weak. And if a woman can see that she can rattle you and manipulate you and manhandle you, she's going to do that. And so I just wanted to revisit this Ricky Smiley situation because it got me to thinking, is if part of the reason why the Black community is in the current state that it's in, because we've got generations of men who had the mindset that Ricky Smiley exhibited on that live stream, and now it's like an infection. Instead of men like J.H. Jackson, who, like, first of all, I don't care what these white people think about me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to lead these people the way God has called me to lead them, to be self-reliant, to trust in God, but while we are here occupying, to not look to the government. There were men like that. But instead, because of the men and the mindset, the archetype. Let me not make it too personal, because I done whooped up on Ricky pretty bad. So let's move it aside from Ricky, and let's just call it the Ricky Smiley archetype. He represents a type of emasculated, weak-minded man that wants to sell this generation more victimhood, and instead of saying that you are an overcomer and you are a conqueror, not because you might be physically strong, but because one, you live in one of the greatest countries this side of heaven, but two, if you have the mind of Christ and you're an heir of Jesus Christ and a child of God, why would you not be brave? Why would you walk in fear? Fear is not a manly virtue, but he exhibits it, and he didn't even realize how much of an embarrassment he was, not just to his family, but to his ethnic expression. It was an embarrassment. And I'm not going to apologize for anything that I've said in this live stream. So, with that being said, let's wrap up this live stream by, as soon as I stop choking, Layla, you're right. Get off your mama's umbilical cord, please. Oh gosh, it's horrible. Last topic of the evening before we go. The news of the passing of Dr. John MacArthur was bittersweet for me. For many of you, if you don't know, John MacArthur has been the faithful shepherd of Grace Community Church over in California, LA to be specific, for well over 50 years. And Dr. MacArthur has had a pulpit ministry that has just impacted the world globally. But not just that, has impacted my personal life. So when the Lord first saved me, one of the first Bibles that I had was a MacArthur study Bible. And I still have it. Actually, my mother bought me my first 2 study Bibles. She bought me my tried and true study Bible, the one y'all always see, the real brown, raggedy looking one. But she also bought me my MacArthur study Bible. And I also own the entire catalog of John MacArthur's commentary on the New Testament. It is, I don't know how many volumes it is. It's more than 26 books, because he has actually he has written a line by line exposition of every verse within the New Testament. And it's a collector's item, and it's a part of our family library, and it just means so much to me. So to know that this giant in the faith has now gone on to be with the Lord, it is sad, but we also rejoice because we're not mourning as if we have no hope. While John MacArthur was not a perfect man, he was a faithful man. And there are so many sermons of John MacArthur's that are just tried and true classics that I can send to you. And they are just as impactful as they were on day one when you first heard it. One of my favorite sermons by Dr. MacArthur is a series that he did called Saved or Self-Deceived. And I think there are 3, I could be wrong, it's either 2 or 3 parts of it. But this sermon series was so impactful for me because the way that he exposits this text, what he does is, if you are a nominal church attendee or churchian, it's gonna force you to examine yourself to see if you're in the faith. And it's one of those sermons that hurt in a good way, because your first knee-jerk reaction is to think of someone that you know that he may be describing, but surely after listening to it, you're going to start applying it to yourself, and it's going to force you to dig in deep and to search, and it may lead you to repentance. That's how good this sermon series is. So I don't have any information as to when his homegoing is going to be. He's not my pastor, but when someone such as a faithful shepherd, such as John MacArthur, passes, it should remind all of us of our mortality. But not just that, to lead a ministry as robust as Grace to You and as large of a congregation as Grace Community Church is, it is very difficult to do that well. And I think what John MacArthur has done as a shepherd is give us a model for what it looks like to just do the slow and steady, the boring and the mundane, week in and week out, prepping your sermon, preaching it to the people, and doing what you can by God's grace to not compromise the gospel and to be found faithful all the way to the end. And so I am just happy to know that based on how he lived his life, that he is in the presence of Jesus and he is not suffering. And so I would encourage you to pray for his wife and his children and his grandchildren and the entire Grace Community Church family, because they truly have lost a giant. They've lost their pastor. And so I didn't really have much to say about it other than the fact that John MacArthur has gone on to be with the Lord, and he is going to be greatly missed. The Shepherd's Conference and so many conferences that he's been a part of, and his body of work and his catalog of faithful preaching just kind of speaks for itself. So if you've never been exposed to the ministry of John MacArthur, I would encourage you to go visit gracetoyou.org and just pick a sermon and listen to it. What listening to the expository teaching of John MacArthur did for me was train my ear to listen to line by line biblical exposition, where all of the frills and the emotion of it all, I learned to just kind of dial in and focus on what is the text saying, like without all the fluff. What is the text saying? There's no, listen, he a one-trick pony. He'd get up in that pulpit and be like, all right, we're picking up in the book of John. And he's going line by line and expositing the text, pulling from the text what the authorial intent was and the meaning of it. And it really does train you. It trains your spiritual eyes and ears to just dig in deep and to have a love and a thirst for God's word. And so I'd encourage you to go listen to a few sermons. Keep the Grace to You family and Grace Community Church family in your prayers. And who knows, like, no one knows who John MacArthur's successor is going to be, like who's going to lead the ministry. But what this should do is make us all aware of our mortality, but not just that. The way we do ministry at the local church level, a ministry should be able to go on in the absence of the pastor. If you have a plurality of elders, the church should decide who's going to be next. And while no one will ever be able to replace John MacArthur, because there's only one John MacArthur, the ministry should still go on being and faithfully teaching and preaching and shepherding and discipling people for generations to come. That's just how it's supposed to be. So other than that, you guys, I didn't really have anything else to say about that. Kind of just want to let you know John MacArthur passed away. He passed away. He caught pneumonia. And at his age, once you catch pneumonia, 9 times out of 10, you are not expected to live very long after that. So it is very sad, but we do rejoice because we know that he was not without hope. And knowing John MacArthur, he probably was ready to go. He's like, I don't even know why I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just that kind of person. So anyway, Other than that, you guys, I have no idea when I will go live again. I miss going live, but it is actually not as sustainable for me as it used to be. And then also there are a lot of topics that I want to cover that are just not YouTube friendly. It's just not. And in order for me to get to those topics, I kind of have to focus on creating those videos, and then I have to put them somewhere else that would allow me to kind of unleash and say what I want to say. And so, if you didn't hear the news, I now have a Patreon, and we're probably eventually going to phase out the YouTube membership program because I can't really manage that. YouTube kind of controls every aspect of that for the most part, and it's very, very limited. It's very limited in what you can do. And so the Patreon exists for you to support the work that I'm doing here, and then for me to share videos and content that I can't share on the YouTube. It is super cheap to be a member. It is only $10 a month. And I'm excited. We already have some people who have joined the Patreon. And so we're just looking to grow over there. And I'll be doing a lot of spontaneous lives over there, behind the scenes content over there. And just the goal is to create a community over there, so I'm not so dependent on YouTube. So I encourage you to join the Patreon. Like, you don't want to miss out. You really don't want to miss out. And if one of the moderators can drop a link to the Patreon in the live chat, that would be great. And let me get to these super chats. Let's see what we got here. Willie Doc, I ain't seen you in a minute, friend. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong sound. I'm so sorry, Willie Doc. I didn't mean to give you the crickets. What I meant to do was to give you an applause. Willie Doc says, appreciate you, Sister April. Keep speaking God's truth, especially against all this deception out there. Thank you so much, Willie Doc. Haven't seen you in a long time. We've got to catch up. We got to figure out something we can do in the metro area. Maybe I'll get with Dear Woke Christian and we can figure something out. I thoroughly enjoyed the last time we all got together. That was super, super fun. So maybe we could do that. I don't know. But I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for always holding me down and supporting me and watching the live streams. It really does mean a lot. Let's see. We got Terrell P22. Terrell says, I think you should debate Jasmine Ratchet. You already know if a black conservative male debates her, he's going to get buried online and call all types of Uncle Tom raccoon and tap dancing names. Sadly, you're right. You are right. I think having a black female conservative who's not afraid of Jasmine and who knows how to disarm the ratchery and call out her lies and lead with the truth, that would be a good idea. The problem is, or should I say, the question is, would she ever agree to a public debate? Typically, liberals, if they have, they pick their opponents wisely. Like, if I don't know how to say this without it sounding bad, but I'm probably going to have to go ahead and say it, and it's going to sound bad. If I was a certain kind of black conservative that, was attempting to distance myself from who I actually am, and like all of the usual tropes and claims that they would try to level against me would not work. Because one, my husband's black, so they can't say, she thinks like this because she married to a white man. That's not true. They can't say, she was raised with a silver spoon in her mouth. I'm from the Bronx, right? Like, they can't say that. They can't say, she went to a PWI, went to an HBCU. They can't say that. Whatever. They will try to find something to delegitimize you, instead of them just dealing with the arguments and the basis and on the merit of what you're saying. They will attempt to delegitimize you. Well, if there's someone that they are going to struggle to delegitimize, I mean, outside of her saying, you know, when you dropped out of college, ooh, okay, like they can say that about me because I am, you know, I left Spelman, I didn't graduate, whatever. None of those things matter, right? Like what they think about me is of no consequence to me. I just want to debate the ideas. Let's debate the ideas, and we can demonstrate that my ideas are just better, and my ideas will lead to human flourishing and the success and just like the Black community would be better off. And this is not just euphemistically, but we would be better off if we never adopted liberalism and progressivism. It's a fact, and I can prove it. But she's not going to want to debate that because her goal is to make you believe that you were a victim, to make you believe that you can never rise above wherever you are without the help from the government. And I'm coming with a message that is vastly different from that. So I agree with you. I should debate her, but if you want to set it up, make it happen. But I doubt it'll ever happen. But I'm definitely not afraid of her. That's a fact. Look, it's so good to see you. She said, good evening, Mrs. April Chapman. Be encouraged. I haven't seen you in so long. It is good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for leaving that super chat. It's always wonderful to see your beautiful face. Thank you so much. Let's see. We have DJ Naughty Aftershock says the PNBC Progressive National Baptist Convention needs to be deleted in its entirety. They have done irreparable damage to Black Christianity. Listen, that whole super chat right there, that'll preach. That'll preach. Not sure if many of you knew, the Progressive National Baptist Convention was started because MLK did not get his way with the National Baptist Convention by installing his point person. MLK's goal was to leverage the numbers that the National Baptist Convention had garnered under Pastor J.H. Jackson's leadership. And he wanted to take over the National Baptist Convention because he wanted how many million? I think, was it 7 million at the time? Maybe more. It was the largest African-American denomination in the country. And he wanted to galvanize the entire National Baptist Convention to support his cause. And when they attempted to redirect the votes on the floor toward Gardner C. Taylor, which was his guy, MLK's guy, that they wanted to run against J.H. Jackson, a fight broke out. How is the drum major of justice and the king of nonviolence starting a riot on the floor of the National Baptist Convention? Well, a day later, an individual who was involved in the brawl ends up dying. And then as a result, MLK gets excommunicated. He gets kicked out of the National Baptist Convention. And that's how the Progressive National Baptist Convention was started. That is the convention of your Raphael Warnocks and your, what's the dude's name? Freddie Haynes and dude up in Chicago. What's his name? Otis Moss III. All of those Black pulpit pimp apostates, they're all members of the PNBC. And they have done, like the super chat said, they've done irreparable harm to the Christian faith in the ethnic expression of the Black church. What they've done is basically usher the ethnic expression of the Black church utterly into apostasy by adopting social justice as a gospel, which is no gospel at all, and made us into a class of victims, like where we're just walking around, you know, with kente cloths, trying to connect to the motherland, which was so funny to me. Y'all wanted to do a video. I'll probably record it tomorrow. I'm not going to talk too much about it now. I wanted to do a video on the backlash that Essence has been experiencing because of the Africanization of the festival. And the whole thing was just funny to me because I'm like, wait a minute. haven't y'all been preaching and promoting Pan-Africanism for the past 25, 30 years? Like, I'm confused as to why we mad. But anyway, I'm going to cover that. But to piggyback or to finish the thought that I was saying about the Progressive National Baptist Convention, it is apostate, and it reflects the most man-centered, heretical doctrines that of the modern 21st century. And so, I mean, they are a denomination. I don't know why anyone would want. Well, I would. If you're an apostate, that's a denomination that you join. If I'm not mistaken, who pastors Progressive Baptist Church up in Chicago? Is it Charlie Dates? I don't even understand how he still gets included in biblically sound circles because of what he believes, but I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate you, and I'm thankful for that super chat. That was a very thought-provoking point that you made, and I'm glad that you brought it up. But anyway, y'all, it's 9:43. I'm fading fast. All I ate today was some ground beef, and I'm trying to get back in the swing of things after having been out of town for all those days. But y'all, I really enjoyed the time that I had in Tampa. I met a lot of amazing people. I met Roger Stone. I don't know if you guys saw the community post. I met Roger Stone. He's going to actually come on the show, which is super exciting. I have to follow up with him later this week about that interview. I met Roger Stone. I met Scott Jennings. I met Charlie Kirk twice. It was so funny. The first night I was at dinner, I was by myself, and I was in a restaurant in the lobby of the Marriott. And I saw Charlie come out this room, and I was like, Charlie, hey. Like he know me. Charlie don't know me. But anyway, he was so kind and so warm. He shook my hand. I got to meet him and just congratulate him on all of the work that he's been doing. And then I got to meet him again the day after. Yeah, I got to meet him again the day after. So that was exciting. Y'all, Charlie is super tall. Like, I didn't realize he was that tall. He's very, very tall. But then again, I'm short. Everybody's tall. But he was like really, really tall. Who else did I get a chance to meet? Who else did I meet? I saw Byron Donalds. Didn't get a chance to talk to him. I don't lost count. Y'all met so many people. It was just fun. It was fun, and it was super cool. Y'all, these people, they're just like regular people. The celebrity nature of it is really not that. I mean, okay, well, Charlie Kirk do got like a boatload of security around him, but that's to be expected because there were some protesters out at the event. But other than that, I mean, it was just an amazing time. I got to hear Matthew Knowles speak. I did not hear Tucker speak. Did not get a chance to hear Tucker speak. I was just busy. I was constantly going. These conferences wear you out. I was exhausted by the time it was all over, but I was just grateful for the opportunity. So anyway, y'all, I love you guys with the love of the Lord. I'm so grateful for your support. We recently crossed over 125,000 subscribers, and we are not slowing down yet. Y'all, you gotta give yourselves a round of applause. I'm able to grow at the rate that I'm growing because you guys tune in to support. Whether it was the gate agent at TSA, you know who you are if you're watching, who gave me the hookup. I'm thankful for that because I really didn't want to wait in that line. I was so grateful for that. He was so kind and so gracious. To the lady that checked me out at Chick-fil-A in Tampa who recognized me, she was so, like, everywhere I go, I see you guys, and y'all are just amazing. I got to meet Donovan. I got to meet Stasha. I got to meet, who else did I get to meet? There's so many friends of the channel that I had a chance to meet, and please charge it to my head and not my heart. You know I'm perimenopausal. I can't remember nothing. But I met so many of y'all, but it really meant a lot to me to meet Donovan and Stasha. That hit me in the feels that you guys came out to the Blexic event on Sunday. But anyway, I love you guys. I said I was going like 30 minutes ago. I really am going this time. I'll talk to you guys later. Grace and peace.